So today we look at what are access and locators in continuation to the series of locators for UI testing. So what are access and locators? Access act as directions in the sense that they are special keywords used inside Xpath locators to move through the HTML structure. They tell Selenium the direction you want to travel from one element to another, up, down or sideways. Think of access as navigation command. And when do you use them? They can help you locate elements when there are no IDs, no proper classes. The element is hidden deep in the DOM, or you need to pick a nearby or related element. Without access, some elements would be almost impossible to locate. So when you have a document DOM, basically most of the elements can be detected easily using some of the other locator like your ID, class name, Xpath, CSS selector without using the access. But in some cases, it just becomes impossible to reach that element. So you use access to find something that is easily locatable. You can locate it and then use access to reach that other element. So let's look at some example. So here you have a structure where you have a button with submit. Now it is possible that throughout the DOM you have many buttons which are of type with the text submit. How do you reach this specific one? So you can go to a div which has class as form, this could be unique, and then go to a descendant which is button. So it will look for any descendant within it which has button as the tag name. Another example is this. Here you have label which has some attribute, and then you have an input near it, a sibling which is of type text. So now this input type text could be for multiple input types, inputs throughout the page. So if you look for this input with an attribute type text, you might get hundreds of, or maybe a few 10, 15 elements. But if you look for a label which has an attribute for email and then look for a following sibling as input, you might get this, you will get this unique input, right? You'll reach this element. So this is how you use access to reach a specific element, which might be difficult just to locate with the attribute it has. Okay. So now let's look at the common access, which you could use for your testing. One is child, a direct child of the node. So here we have a tag named div, and there is a child which is a tag p. So here I am taking one example. Okay. So here we went to div, and then we are looking for a child. So within this div there is a child input, and for that input I have also put a role search box. Okay, of course in this case you can directly go and search for input because it has all the attributes, but just to show how access is used, I am giving this example. If I remove this, okay, you will find 6 elements which are conforming to this particular structure where your div and you have a child which is input. Okay. Now the next example is for parent. Here again, you see this example. Here you have a tag name input which is an attribute of value email, and then we look for a parent which is div. So if the parent of this particular tag is not div, then you will not find any element. So again here let's look at an example. Okay, so here we have a span with text mobile attributes. So if we go here inside, you have a span here which is having a text mobile accessories, right? Accessories, and the parent is a tag A. So that is why we found this particular element. Okay. Next is ancestor. Ancestor is not only parent, it could be grandparent, a great grandparent. So here again all parents up the tree. Tag input with this attribute email, and you're looking for an ancestor which is of tag form. So in this case here you have a span text, again mobile accessories, and you're looking for an ancestor which is unordered list. So this entire unordered list is chosen. So you see here we were here at span mobile accessories and we found an ancestor which is not parent, grandparent, great grandparent, great great grandparent, which is one of the ancestors which has the tag name UL, which is unordered list. Next is descendant. Descendant is all children down the list. So you have an unordered list and a descendant which is a list, right? Here in general you will find lots if you do a simple query like this. Not just an element, you can find a list of elements also using the access. Now if we look at this example, okay, there is some descendant. Okay, let me just go and search for yeah, as you see here there are 225 elements that are chosen that come out when you look for just unordered list with a descendant which is which has span, because of course there will be many spans inside this. What I was looking for was SIM cards. Let me see, maybe there was a mistake in quotes or something. UL, descendant is span. Okay, it's the caps. Yeah, so we got this right. So you see that I was able to locate the SIM cards using descendant. So you had an unordered list, and within that unordered list you are looking for any descendant which has a text SIM card. Okay, this is just to show again an example, but most of the time you don't have something like an attribute, and that's why you use descendant or the other accesses. Next is following sibling. Following sibling means finding this tag and a following sibling which has this particular tag type. Right, so here we are looking for a div which is of particular ID and the following sibling which has the type IDs. Now this is to uniquely identify. If I remove the attribute type, you will find two a sibling. So here you have a div which has an ID, which has an ID type which is account list. Okay, where is this? Yeah, this is the one, right, at account list, and then the siblings. Yeah, it's not the parent, it's the siblings. So here you have the two siblings which are of type anchor type. And next is preceding siblings. Again similar, right? In this case we had a following sibling which was after the element that we located, and preceding means the one before. So if we look at this one, right, we found one which is nav cart, and here which is an ID nav card, and we found a preceding sibling which is of anchor type. And the next is following, that is all elements after a node in document order. Now in most cases following means you will get a lot of elements and not just one. Here I have taken an example because I have given an attribute type, so we will find just a unique value. So we just got one element which is of the search type. So you had a list, okay, and within this you found a span which has a text type search. If I remove this, you will find 921 elements. Okay. And the last one is preceding. Just like following, you have preceding, wherein you are looking at values preceding the div. Okay. So again here, when I show this example, you will find a couple of elements. Okay, there are two elements here which are preceding the div. So div is preceding the h1. So okay, so here you have two examples, two elements that get chosen with this particular access. So here these are the list of access that you could use, and again to kind of give a gist, access is used when you have elements that are deep in the DOM. You don't have proper attributes to spot it correctly or uniquely, and so you go to an element which you can find easily and then use access to locate that particular element for doing any kind of operation. Okay, so this is access used within Xpath locators.